So yeah, it is so cool to talk to you both. First of all, how are you guys liking Detroit?
I love Detroit. I mean, every time I come here, it's really. I mean, Dearborn is amazing. It's my favorite part of the Middle East.
So as I was just telling you off camera, I binged Ramy this weekend and was like super hooked into it. And I have like a lot of questions and stuff I want to ask both you guys. But my first question, before I just assumed too much, was how much of this character is you?
Yeah, it's very much alternate reality Ramy. I tried to imagine a character that sat with his problems longer than I do. I've been doing comedy for 10 years, so I have like a creative outlet. This character doesn't. You know, I have a very open, communicative family. This character, his family is a little less communicative. So I wanted to put him in a situation where he had to deal with things for a little bit longer. Things were a little more confusing for him. So I'd say he's probably more hapless than me. Although if you ask my sister, she might say it's pretty spot on. I'm not sure. Yeah, but those are the differences. And so a lot of the plot points and where his problems go are definitely different from real life. Same with the family. Like my parents are able to watch and say, okay, that's not us.
Got it.
You know, I mean, it's pretty clear that it's not. Yeah.
Sure. Well, and again, I'm not giving much away, hopefully, with the show. But what I love about it is even the pilot I felt was pretty brilliant, because the pilot, it starts off kind of with all these preconceived notions of like what an Arab Muslim is, or what they go through, or what their life is like. But by the end of the episode, Ramy himself kind of had preconceived notions of the girl that he meets, and so it kind of flips it on its head right away, that like this is kind of going outside of what people are maybe expecting.
It's introspective, and so we're kind of looking at the way we stereotype ourselves. And I really think that as a community that receives a lot of attack and hate from the outside, we could have made a show where we kind of reflected on those things that are coming in from the outside. But our goal here was really to look inwards, and with this specific family, with this specific character, to deal with his problems that are of his own doing, but seeing someone who genuinely believes in his faith, and so he has what he believes, but then he has what he actually does, and he's pulled by those desires, he's pulled by those temptations, and that wrestling match was a lot more interesting for me to explore than the one of the things that are happening to us externally.
Now, with his friends, he has a pretty interesting group of friends kind of surrounding his life. You play one of his best friends on the show. What does it say about, I guess, the friendship, your character and him, and that kind of the other guys that kind of fill or populate his life? What does it say about the characters?
I think I'm trying to, we're giving him advice, but I think I have a clear path of what I'm doing in my life, and a clear in my faith, and I think I want him to do that, to follow that path and get married. And Mo's, they're like like you said, two angels on his shoulders and stuff like that. So Mo's has his, I think you said.
He's got his code. I mean, like Mo just wants Ramy to be confident. So Mo has kind of created his own rules within the faith, and he sticks to them. Dave actually sticks to the Quran. Mo has kind of, made maybe, looks at it a little bit more alternatively. But Ramy, kind of is getting, different points of view from them. What I really love about the friendship circle between all these guys is it's just a little bit different than what you usually see. I mean, you have a scene in the pilot where these guys are basically saying, dude, you have to get married so that you can be focused and you could have a good life. It's the opposite of everything that you see in a comedy, where it's usually a bunch of guys being like, what are you doing? Play the field. We want to live through you. This is the opposite. They're basically looking at him and they're like, you're disgusting. You got to take a shower. Who have you been with? You need to get your life together and get it on track.
My funniest moment of the whole thing was, I don't know if this will make the air, but the whole dick pic exchange where he's like, it's all about consent, man.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was like one of the best lines of the whole series.
Yeah.
No, but I also love, as it goes along, the show, the perspective kind of changes. It goes away from Ramy for a couple episodes and kind of gets into the sister and the mother and even the father to a certain extent. I feel like you clearly had a lot to say about all of these things. If you could boil it down to kind of what are some of the things that you kind of hope to achieve with this when people watch this?
My number one thing I would love to achieve is for people to have a human look at an Arab Muslim family. And so the humanity of it, is what excites me. The most human thing to me is showing people's problems and showing their flaws, and we led with that. And we led with a lot of intimate things. We led with a lot of sex because it's very intimate and it opens up a lot of conversations. I think a lot of television uses violence to do that. We really didn't want that approach. We wanted to use a really intimate human thing to open up conversations. And so we zone in on other characters in order to paint a fuller portrait of this family. And I think in order to understand a son, that is Rami, you really want to know the mother and you really want to know the sister, and it starts to inform the whole world. And so much of this first season is kind of planting seeds and laying groundwork, because I do feel like there's a lot I want to say. And we really wanted to put a lot of these foundational pieces in so that we could grow these characters. We don't want to wait. Even though it's a first season show called Rami, it was just calling the network and being like, look, 2 of these episodes I shouldn't be in. And they're like, well, it's the first season. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, we got to think big picture. And it was really exciting to be able to start that journey with all of them.
And maybe I'm looking too deep into it, but I also feel like it was very interestingly saying a lot about like generational kind of things. But through the whole show, you're kind of looking at it as the audience, like generational between the parents and the kids. But when you start to learn about the grandfather's relationship with the dad, you kind of see that each generation has its own hurdles and kind of things that it's going through. Was that a conscious kind of effort to talk to, say something about the generations?
Absolutely, and it's something that I think the whole marriage piece of it is really interesting. Like, this show isn't per se about dating.
Right.
It's more about, we start the show with a wedding, and it's interesting because it's not so much about where Rami fits romantically. It's more, what do you believe that you're going to pass on to the next generation? So if you plan on having kids as you get to your 30s, and his friend already has a kid, and Mo, and what parts of what you were raised with are you going to pass on, and where are you going to take, and that's something that I think any first generation kid deals with, uniquely, which is, what am I going to hold on to, what am I going to let go of, and what is my responsibility, and so much of this show is about that personal responsibility, and seeing it, we see the subtleness of it between the grandfather and the father, and then we see it between the father and the son, and then now we are with the son as he tries to figure out what does the future look like?
And one of the more interesting episodes too of the show was when it's young Rami.
Yeah.
And it deals with 9/11. I guess watching it, as a white dude from the suburbs of Detroit, I was kind of wondering, do you feel like this is a indicative of kind of what most, like, was this kind of the universal kind of American Arab Muslim reaction? The idea, like the fear. I thought it was really interesting at the end of the scene where, like, the end of the episode where the father goes out and just kind of puts the American flag out on the front porch, and you see it later in, when they're older, it's still out there. Like, so I guess I was kind of wondering if is this something that, again, you felt like you just kind of were portraying something out there, or for both of you, do you feel like this was something that was kind of a universal, like, hey, this was kind of our experience as we experienced 9/11 as Americans?
It's the whole show is hyper specific. I mean, it's why I called it Rami, because I don't really want to speak for anyone's experience, but so it's very much that episode in particular is very much an amalgamation of a lot of thoughts and fears and things that I felt as a kid. I was really interested in looking at, terrorism from the perspective of a child, because we have 10 episodes. It's the only time we ever talk about it. Yeah. It never comes up because I don't think it needs to. I think the thing that I felt needed to be looked at is, how does this affect the kid, and how does this, build a foundation for what I feel like I grew up in, which was kind of like an era of fear and this like 24-hour news cycle, and being in New Jersey so close to that. And so I really wanted to put that with a lot of the coming of age things that any kid goes through, and marry those together. And there are moments in that episode that I think have really resonated with people. And I think you kind of hit it on the head. There were so many people who hit me up and they were just like, dude, the dad putting the flag outside, just like we did that, we all did that. And we all, tried to, we put the flag out because we wanted to. It's when you look at immigrants, immigrants have to move their whole life to come here and leave a lot behind we want to be here, and so
You also shouldn't have to do that, though. You know what I mean? Like, but it's kind of just where
we're
the culture is. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it. I think there's a lot there that will resonate with a lot of people. And again, there's a lot that is just really specific to this story.
Well, I heard you. Last question I got for you is just kind of tell people about what you have going on next. I know that you got an HBO thing coming up, right?
Yes. I have a special coming out.
Sweet.
Yeah, in like 2 months. Hopefully,
You're blowing up, man.
Hopefully, we get to make more of this. That'd be really exciting.
Yeah. Do you know about you? Also, I heard you mention it as a first season a couple times. You have plans to do second season. Is it?
I have plans. Yeah, for sure.
We'll see if Hulu does.
We'll see if our plans align.
Okay.
Everything's been really positive, though. We're really optimistic. And Dave is, working on a folk album. He plays acoustic guitar, and so he's kind of putting that together.
Yeah, it's Canadian and Middle Eastern mashed together. It's gonna be great, man.
You want to sing a little bit? Give us a chord.
No, I want people to get the thirst going.
Very cool, man. Tell us one quick thing about this guy that we might not know about him.
You want me to spill the tea?
Sure, go for it.
He likes candy. He's a sweet tooth.
I really do.
He does.
Obsessed.
Yeah.
There you go, man. All
That's
right.
a good one. That's a good one, actually. I don't think. Yeah, I'm obsessed with candy.
You are, yeah.
You
try
see
to
it,
fight
right?
it. You try to fight it, but
You see me try to be like no.
Yeah.
And then I'm.
and there's been a lot of candy in the last.
We've been
2
like
days.
surrounded by candy, right? It's like I'm not even trying to buy it. We'll like walk in somewhere, and not only is there candy, but it's like the most amazing display of candy.
Now this isn't like a euphemism for like drugs and stuff, right? We're talking about candy, like sugar
Genuinely
candy.
talking
It's a
about
general
just like
candy.
sugar candy. I mean, we walked into a hotel yesterday. I saw it was
Jars.
like gourmet.
There was more on the other side. I didn't tell you by the coffee machine.
Really?
Yeah.
Different kinds.
I didn't know if I was allowed to touch them. It was early in the morning, but there was like 9 of them.
Why
and it
would
was
you not
different.
be allowed to touch them?
Because they were in like a shelf. Like I had to go behind, and it would have looked suspect. I would have got us kicked out.
So Rami battles diabetes in season 2. That's part of
Maybe.
maybe.
I mean, I gotta go do the blood thing. Yeah.
Guys, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
It's
Thank
seriously
you.
super cool to
Really
meet both of you.
appreciate it. Thanks, man.
All right.
Thank you.